Dreadnoughts are walking avatars of war, marines given the ability to give out death like no other, safe behind their ceramite armor and kept alive by their sarcophagus. They can fight 1,000 battles more after their death. But what is it truly like to live as someone who has already died? The Dreadnoughts of the Space Marine chapters are legendary weapons of war, their ability to give out death and destruction unmatched by the rest of their brothers. At their disposal is every weapon of war they could dream of: mighty power fists, able to crush tanks in a single blow, plasma cannons, las cannons, missiles, inbuilt bolters, melters, and rotary cannons able to chew up entire infantry formations. They are venerated by their brothers, regarded as the honored dead, and treated with a level of respect usually reserved for those already entombed below ground. They often represent a chapter's culture and its evolution, advising even captains on how to wage war when it is necessary. The nature of their existence lends itself to a longevity they might not have ever seen as a regular Marine. But the existence of a Dreadnought is one of horrific dichotomy. Trapped within their life-preserving sarcophagi, the remains of a Marine are resurrected from the brink of death to serve again. In order for a Dreadnought to be born, a battle brother must die. The process of this birth begins immediately after the battle. A single battle brother has been wounded beyond repair, most of their body being destroyed in some obscene display of violence. They could be anything from a torso with a single limb remaining, to a barely functioning circulatory system with an intact brain. As long as the mind of the Marine remains, though, they can be interred. The apothecaries, having done all they can to stabilize the unfortunate battle brother, take the would-be corpse to the apothecarian to ensure that they can remain alive until interment. Some chapters give their battle brothers a choice once their eligibility and compatibility has been ensured. Others simply proceed once the subject has been confirmed as compatible. And some chapters, such as the Iron Hands, leap at the opportunity to meld their flesh with the unmatched might of steel and adamantium. Either way, should a Marine say yes, the process of installing them into their sarcophagus begins. This is a grueling process where the body is placed within the amniotic chamber and hooked up to the complex life support systems. Breathing tubes put in place, blood cyclers, artificial organs to ensure optimal performance of the corpus. Dozens of different devices and tubes are inserted into the Marine's body, the flesh red and taut where the foreign objects stick into and under what remains of their skin. Finally, the lid is sealed. This is how the Marine will spend the remainder of his life, forever trapped in a metal box, floating in oxygenated fluid, only dimly aware of their own body as it jostles and bumps against the sides of the casket. Once they are placed into this life-preserving prison, they must go through the motions to become accustomed to their new form. The process of becoming a Dreadnought is traumatic and shocking even for a Space Marine, and can bring to the fore feelings that they thought long since removed. Anger, anxiety, a feeling of unfair treatment by the universe, and most of all, fear. These are all things that they feel during their first awakenings and beyond. Some are unable to move past these feelings. Anger can become a constant to a being that feels slighted by the universe, and though being a Dreadnought is an honor, it is one that removes them from their brothers in an irreversible way. Some would surely prefer to have died over being subjected to such cultural dislocation. They are lifted up by their former brothers, venerated as ancients and mighty war machines, yet the very brothers they served with will never speak to them with the same camaraderie as before. They can never spend time in the armories, cleaning their weapons side by side and musing over the next conflict, never lock arms with their closest kin, and never stand side by side them again, only ever above them. Though they lay claim to the use of the most deadly weapons of war, they will never feel the simple pleasure of a bolter kicking in their hands, the percussive feedback reminding them that they are still flesh and blood. They will never feel their muscles pump as they sprint across an open battlefield, never know the smell of war in their nostrils or remove their helmet after a battle well fought. And every now and then they are reminded of themselves, the occasional feeling of a stump of a limb bumping against the inside of their tomb sending jolts of anxiety through them, reminding them just how trapped they really are. They lead a claustrophobic existence, trapped with only the other honored dead for comfort, though they can be no comfort at all. Their fellow Dreadnoughts are in exactly the same position as them. And although they can compare experiences, give advice and share wisdom on how to cope with these feelings, they too remain oddly apart given their similarities. They also experience a severe dislocation of time. Between battles, they are often sent into a deep sleep, the systems of their sarcophagus keeping them in a deep slumber so that their mind cannot destroy itself through idle circular thought. It can be weeks, months, or even years between periods of wakefulness. And each time they're sent to sleep, they're forced to experience the crippling uncertainty of what the world they wake up to will be. Brothers they once served disappear. Captains, attendant thralls, tech priests, all change around them, flowing like a river of names and faces, even as they stay the same. They are boulders in the stream, slowly being worn away by the inexorable march of time. The constant inconsistency of their lives adding to the burden they must bear. 2 excerpts show this experience most starkly. Firstly, a passage from Know No Fear, and then a more recent one from the novella Crusade. Telemachus wakes, but it is not time for war. He has been taught things, and one of them is to control his anger until it is needed. It is not needed now, so he controls it. He analyzes, he scans, he determines. His determination is this: he is in his casket, and his casket is being moved for transit. Something, perhaps some clumsy or inexpert handling of his casket, has woken him. It is not time for war. This disappoints him. He controls his disappointment, just as he has been taught. He controls his anger. He realizes he needs, additionally, to control his anxiety. Anxiety is akin to fear, and fear is an abomination previously unknown to him, and he is resolved absolutely not to let it in. Thus, his anxiety increases. Telemachus lived his life as a legionary of the 13th, 10 years service, from his genetic construction to his death in combat, and all that time he knew no fear. None whatsoever. Despite everything he faced, even death when it finally came, he was never afraid. During the first conversation he had with them after his death, the tech priest told him that things would be different from now on. His mortal remains, the remains of Brother Gabriel Telemac, 92nd Company Ultramarines, were no longer viable. Too much of his organics had been vaporized for there to be any continuation of life as he could understand it. But he was, in respect of his courage and service, and because of his compatibility, going to be honored. His mortal remains were going to form the organic core of a cyber-organic being. He was being made a Dreadnought. As a man, as flesh and blood, Gabriel had thought of the Dreadnoughts as ancient things. They were veterans, brothers taken at the brink of death and installed inside indomitable war machines. They were old. Some were a century old. Some had been alive in those machine boxes for 100 years. Gabriel Telemac was not old, just a decade of service. Now he was trapped in a box, forever. There were adjustments to be made, the tech priest said, mental adjustments. He accepted, first of all, that every Dreadnought, even the most venerable, had to be new at some point. Dreadnoughts were a vital part of the Legion's fighting power, and they were lost from time to time. So new ones needed to be constructed at intervals when the combat chassis were available and when war loss produced suitable and compatible organic donors. The tech priests told him that he would lack many things his flesh body had taken for granted. Sleep, to begin with. He would only sleep when they placed him into stasis hibernation. He would experience, or rather not experience, long periods of this, because they would ensure he slept most of the time. They would wake him if it was time for war and his participation was required. The tech priest said that this was because of the pain. There would be pain, and it would be constant. His pitiful mortal residue was sheathed in a cyber-organic web, laced into electrofiber systems and shut in an armored sarcophagus. There would be no opportunity to manage pain the way he had done as a man, no mechanism for pain control. For the same reason, he would find himself prone to emotional variations he had not known as a man. He would probably be prone to rage, to anger. Despite the devastating power bequeathed him as a Dreadnought, he would miss his mortal state. He would resent his death, regret the circumstances of it, fixate upon it, come to hate the cold shell life he had been given in exchange. To spare him this bitterness, and the pain, and the anger, he would be encouraged to sleep for great periods of time. He would also, they told him, probably be prone to bouts of fear, especially early on. This was, they explained, because of his profound change of state. His consciousness had been shorn away from a linear, mortal scale, from any time frame he could recognize or understand, from time itself in fact, because of the prolonged hibernations. Fear, anathema to the Space Marine, was merely a part of the mind's adjustment to this extreme fate. It was natural. He would learn to control it and to use it, just like his anger. Eventually, fear would evaporate and be no more. He would be as fearless as he had been as a legionary. It would take time. There would be gradual and careful adjustments of his hormones and biochemical mix. He would receive hypnotherapies and acclimation patterning. He would be mentored by others of his kind, the venerables who had grown used to their strange fates. He had said to the tech priests, "I was fearless as a battle brother, even though I might fall. Now you have rendered me invincible. You say I am prey to fear. Why then call me a Dreadnought? I was a Dreadnought before. I dreaded nothing as a man." "This is the anger we spoke of," they had replied. "You will adjust. Sleep will help. Begin hibernation protocols." "Wait," he had called out. "Wait!" Justarius is his mentor. Justarius is venerable. Justarius is also sullen, and despite his greater lifespan as a Dreadnought, seems not to have shed the bitterness or the anger. Justarius prefers to sleep. He is curmudgeonly when woken. He seems, at best, ambivalent to Telemachus' concerns. "It's Telemac," says Telemachus. "My name was Justinius Phaedro," grumbles Justarius in reply. "They rename us, like machines, or they forget. I forget which." Telemachus is the newest Dreadnought in the ranks of the 13th. He is Contemptor pattern. He has yet to see combat. They wake him once during routine resuscitation in the vaults at Macragge. His implant clock tells him that he has been dormant for 2 years. The tech priests inform him that an operation has been announced. He will be installed in his chassis and shipped to Calf for deployment, and then woken when it is time for war. The war will be with orcs. Telemachus has questions, but they return him to his hypnotherapeutic dreams. "Wait," he says. Telemachus wakes, but it is not time for war. He has been taught things, and one of them is to control his anger until it is needed. It is not needed now, so he controls it. He analyzes, he scans, he determines. His determination is this: he is in his casket, and his casket is being moved for transit. Something, perhaps clumsy or an expert handling of his casket, has woken him. His implant clock tells him it is 18 weeks since that routine wake-up on Macragge. Locator systems, reading newspheric tags, tell him that his casket is under transfer in the orbital yards at Calf, the staging post, the place of conjunction. He is roused too early. They're not at the warfront yet. He wonders why he has woken. Was it clumsy handling? A loader jarring his casket? Justarius and Cloton and Photornis are nearby, in their own caskets, and they are still in hyperstasis. Was he physically disturbed, or was it some scrap code anomaly causing his cogitation systems to fibrillate? Telemachus doesn't know. He is new to this. There are no tech priests nearby. He wants Justarius to wake up so he can ask him. Is it normal? What do these traces of scrap code mean? He feels trapped. He feels anxiety. Fear will follow. He is aware of the hyper systems trying to pull him back into unconsciousness, where he belongs. They are trying to spare him the pain and anger. There is no need to wake. You woke too early. You don't need to be awake. The tech priests are wrong. It is not the pain a Dreadnought is afraid of. It's the silence. It's the oblivion. It's the sleep. It's the inability to escape from yourself. Cassian woke, and for a moment believed that he was truly dead. He hung in darkness and could feel nothing at all. Then he heard a voice, filtering to him as though through a vox. "Vitals online, synaptic choristry aligning, bioauguries look good, all runes in the green. Full sensorium coming online, now." Cassian tried to blink as light flooded his vision, yet even his eyelids seemed numbed. The pain swiftly subsided as he adjusted to the sudden restoration of his sight, and he realized that he was in a shipboard apothecarian. 3 apothecaries whom he didn't recognize crowded around him. To his surprise, there was a tech marine with them. Suddenly, data feeds began scrolling down his peripheral vision. He could see power levels, reactor stability readings, Vox and Allspex data. Realization began to dawn as he tried to look down at himself, only to feel a jarring sense of dislocation.
"I cannot feel my body,"
he said, and his voice was a Vox-generated rumble. "It is all right, brother," said one of the apothecaries. "Your body was ravaged beyond our abilities to restore. We saved only those parts you would need."
"I would need?"
Cassian knew what they were saying, but even as the conditioned part of his psyche processed the revelation, another part of his mind was screaming in panic and trying desperately to move limbs that weren't there, flex muscles that didn't exist, and feel skin that he no longer possessed. "You made a great sacrifice, brother," said a familiar voice, and the others parted to reveal 4th Company Captain Adrastein, clad in his shipboard robes and smiling a tight smile. "You gave up your body of flesh in the name of victory. These fine brothers have given you another, that you might continue to fight."
"I am a Dreadnought,"
said Cassian, feeling a chill as the realization sank in. He was organs now, biological component parts, a brain, heart, lungs, veins, arteries and vulnerable innards, bound within an amniotic weave and entombed within the armored sarcophagus of a Redemptor. Part of him felt pride and a thankfulness that he was not dead. The other part tried to vocalize its claustrophobic horror, but with an effort, he strangled that voice into silence. Some warriors went mad upon internment within a Dreadnought body. He would not shame himself by joining their number. "You are a Dreadnought," said Adrastein.
"How? My men? We were victorious?"
"Thanks in no small part to the heroic sacrifices made by yourself and brother librarian Caratreus." "You were," replied Adrastein. "As I understand it, when you slew the enemy leader, it caused no small degree of havoc amongst the Death Guard. Many of their high-ranking lieutenants must already have been dead. Their command structure was in tatters. In the confusion, Chaplain Demetrius was able not only to pull the strike force back within the safety of the walls, but to lead a swift offensive that drove the foe from your vicinity and allowed for recovery of both you and Caratreus' bodies." Cassian took a moment to process this. Feeling his senses gradually syncing with those of his unfamiliar metal body, he realized that he could look through multiple optic actuators at once. As he did so, he noticed that his new body was, for the moment, limbless and suspended in an intricate web of wires and armatures. The horror of a Dreadnought's early life cannot be understated. They are torn away from everything they know, their lives, their very self set adrift as they attempt to come to terms with their new state of being. Ask yourself, what would it do to you to realize that you had lost everything but your mind, all but dead to those who were closest to you, forever separated from them by steel and ceramite, never able to feel the wind on your skin or see them with your own eyes again? These first key moments are essential to how the Dreadnought will go on with life. Will they accept their fate and march forwards, or drown themselves in self-denial and regret? From here, a Dreadnought's life becomes a thing even more dedicated to war than before. They were made as weapons, genetically engineered for the most violent of conflicts, but now they are wholly made for the act of killing. Their fists, once able to hold a brush or carve stone as much as they could kill, are now murderous steel lumps. Their eyes, once able to see all the colors and beauty of the world, even if they didn't have the mind to focus on it, now only see targeting data and threat detection. Although these changes might seem subtle on paper, after all, they were made as weapons to begin with. They disconnect the Marine from the life they once knew in an irreversible and sometimes maddening way. Of course, it is not a solely horrifying existence for them. Most are able to come to terms with these feelings and continue to serve, such as Cassian himself, with some encouragement from his Primarch. "Brother Cassian," said Guilliman, fixing him with an unreadable expression.
"My lord,"
said Cassian,
"I am not worthy to be in your presence."
"You are not just worthy, my son. You are a hero. I will hear no more talk of failure."
Cassian
was lost for words. "You were thrown wildly off course by catastrophic warp storms," continued Guilliman. "Having already completed the mission that I sent you to accomplish, you not only held your force together through that dire experience, but you then successfully identified a means by which you could get word to us of your plight. You engaged a force of heretic Astartes several times the size of your own, whose plan would, I suspect, have caused devastation and misery across multiple systems. I am reliably informed that you showed nothing short of an absolute dedication to the completion of your mission, shrugged off a crushing defeat and alien interference, and even gave your own life to ensure the downfall of the foe. To me, Brother Cassian, those are the actions not of a failure, but of a hero." Cassian's mind reeled, a fierce pride burned within him as he felt the sincerity of his Primarch's words.
"Thank you, my lord,"
he managed, as around him the other Ultramarines officers stood and offered him a warrior's salute. "You will be properly honored for your valor," said Guilliman. "The commensurate accolades will be graven upon your sarcophagus by the artificers before we next go to battle." Cassian tried to nod, and realized he couldn't.
"Thank you, my lord."
"Thank me by learning to wield that mighty new body of yours in battle, Cassian," said the Primarch with a smile. "We are only 3 days out from the Tarkoria front. Do you think you'll be battle-ready in that time?"
"Give me my limbs, my weapons,"
said Cassian fiercely,
"and I will train every moment until we make planetfall, my lord."
"Good," said Guilliman, smile broadening. "Are you ready to keep fighting, Dreadnought Brother Cassian?"
"I am, my lord,"
said Cassian, feeling a surge of purpose like a flame within him.
"The crusade must continue."
Despite the honor they might feel at being given the ability to fight on, they will always feel the pain of this situation, always know the feeling of disconnection and dislocation. As the Dreadnoughts age, they will experience the passage of time in a stuttering, inconsistent way that only beings such as them can. They have to grow used to the inconsistent nature of their new life, lest they crumble under its pressure. Should they successfully do this, they will eventually grow to become venerable. Their memory extending back to times that not even the most long-lived Marines can remember, they become the keepers of tradition and history for their chapters. Bedecked in honors and purity seals, they are woken only for the direst of battles and scenarios, their invaluable knowledge placing them above their Dreadnought kin. The experience of a venerable is one of great honor, and those that make it to this position have only the strongest wills, able to withstand the stresses of their existence and keep to their duties. Their minds are the strongest of all, having weathered potentially hundreds to thousands of years of service without faltering. When a venerable speaks, even the most bellicose and self-assured captain will listen. These monoliths of war have seen 1,000 battles or more and lived to tell of it. Their tactical knowledge essential to any commander that might want to obtain an advantage. Legends such as Bjorn of the Space Wolves, Agrippin of the Ultramarines, and Banus of the Iron Hands, who holds the unusual rank of clan leader within their ranks, have proven their age and experience is invaluable to a chapter and its function. The death of a Dreadnought is usually an incredibly violent affair. Deployed to the most dangerous war zones, a Dreadnought of any type will take catastrophic firepower to take down and will often reap a bloody tally before they allow themselves to be killed. Claws and fists soaked in gore as their cannons pump death into the fray, they will sell their last moments to ensure the success of their mission or survival of their kin. For what is death to one that has already walked that path? Once their chassis has been crippled and their sarcophagus breached, it is only a matter of time. An excerpt from the Glorious Tomb shows us how one Black Templar's Dreadnought spends his last moments. There is an explosion on Invictus' lower portions, then another. The ground rushes up to me as he falls. My tomb's pain arrests me, but it is feeble compared to my own, and is quickly over.
"Warning, warning, warning. Systems compromised. Await aid. Fortitude is the ultimate fortress."
There follows a long list of damaged machinery, blinking red text and runes. All I see beyond them is the gritty floor. I do not read the text. I do not need to read it. There is another explosion, this time on Invictus' back. Shortly after, the system's array blinks and goes out, never to come again. I lose my connection with Invictus entirely. I am left in the dark with my pain. My fluid is pouring out through the crack in my sarcophagus. Invictus is sorely injured, but my brothers will slaughter every orc that stands between they and he. Even if the greenskins are 1,000,000 in number, Invictus will fight again. I, however, will not. I pray. I realize that I can still hear the sounds of battle. The battle cries of my brothers, the triple bark of bolt rounds being expelled, igniting, exploding. I smile, or I attempt to. I hear with my own ears for the first time in 5 centuries. The final time. I do not know what to expect next. It strikes me as amusing that I actually expect something more, that I assume the procession of events cannot end. That is why humanity is so indomitable. Even dying, we do not stop. Perhaps, as a race, we die even now, and my situation is analogous in miniature to the situation of every man, woman, and child of our species, awaiting the next event when there is only death. I will never know if this is the case or not. I have faith that mankind will prevail. If I have no faith, what do I have? Death. Defeat. I have faith. Even as I die, I know victory. These are my thoughts. What happens to us when we die? Does the Emperor wait for me, whole in spirit as he no longer is in life, to call me to his side and sit with him at the table? Will it simply end? There is no golden light, no sense of impending doom, no terrifying sensation, no comfort either. The last of my fluid is gone, exposing my skin to the air. I am aware now of how little of me there is left, trapped in this glorious tomb. Things tug at my flesh, the pipes and cables of Invictus interface. A terrible chill grips me. I struggle with the urge to breathe, but I have no lungs. The oxygen levels in my blood are dipping dangerously low. My skin crawls as my remaining genetic gifts, the Emperor's holy boon that made me into a space marine, broken things now, struggle to keep me alive. Too late. Too late. The final journey approaches. Consciousness recedes. I have felt little emotion since the day I was entombed. Pride, zeal, courage, honor, all come back to me as I die, and I am grateful to them, and I am grateful to feel them again. The day I was chosen to become a Black Templar, my elevation to Sword Brother, my days as a Marshal, the battle on Velinus, the reaving of the cemetery worlds, the misguided passion of the false Saint Cleon, the hunting of the Orc Weird, all ended in blood and death. Brusk, Oberon, Danifer, Thielrid, Chardin, so many faces I have known, all going into the black. 1,000,000 deaths by my hand, if not all were righteous, most were. I can ask for no more than that. Was it not blessed Artemisia who said, "Better 1,000 good men die than one traitor go free"? Older memories, long neglected, resurface. Golden light, a man's laughter, my father, perhaps. A rare moment of peace on my benighted homeworld. He pushes me on a swing, a rope on a tree branch over the only safe water for kilometers. I am shrieking with fright at how high and fast he's pushing me. He pushes harder. "Be brave, Cleon," he shouts. "Be brave?" I shriek louder. A boy squeals. He reminds me of how brave I am when the Gentile reptiles come, of how brave I was when Mother was taken. I am already injured to death, already a warrior, but it does not prevent my shrill cries. A little fear, but mostly pleasure. He mocks me fondly for it. "I've been brave for all my days," I shout in my boy's voice. "I have known no fear," but he is a memory and cannot hear. I close my eyes. I listen to that laughter. 4 years after this I had no father, and no home, but that is yet to come. Such pleasure, simple, potent, and pure. So different to the holy joys of battle, so different to the raptures of worship. There is no aim to it, no reason. It simply is. I wonder what my life would have been had I not trekked to the keep, if I had not undertaken the trial. I think this only for an instant. Lord, but I think it. Forgive me this last sin, O Emperor. The air of my youth is warm, but I'm cold. A shadow comes, dimming the sun. My father does not notice. I try to get his attention, still, he does not hear, trapped as he is in the past. It is fitting, perhaps, for the past is all I have. The final curtain is drawing over my life. I fought well, have I not, O Master of mankind? My toil is over, and I go gladly to my reward. Despite my faith, I am afraid I will not be heard. But praise be, thanks to the Emperor, he hears me. He hears me. There comes a last blessing. The cold recedes. I am warm. I am free. I turn to tell the fading vision of my past, calling out in joy to the shadows in the thickening dark. "The pain is gone," I cry. "The pain is gone." The death of a Dreadnought, even a relatively new one, is cause for mourning, but they will have sold their life dearly and will surely be entered into the annals of the chapter with great respect, their deeds living on past their final death. And hopefully, the shattered marine within can finally find some rest, satisfied at a duty well done. Eventually, if possible, the chassis their sarcophagus was mounted on will be recovered, repaired, and reused by new generations of dead, the deeds of its former users living on through them. The life of a dreadnought is one of pain and duty, one of disconnection and fear, but also one of immense strength, pride, and honor. These brothers, dead and risen again, are some of the finest examples of their chapters. Men who have accepted death as a mere inconvenience and returned to enact vengeance on all who may have threatened their kin, regardless of whether or not they wanted that fate. Whether they are Redemptor, Relic, or Venerable, they forego the honored death they earned the first time around and stand, stalwart and resilient against all tides, even that of time itself.